Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Safa's Unscripted. Thank you for all your support so far. We keep saying it, but you don't realize how grateful we are for all your support. And today, yet again, we have another great episode for you where us Safas are going to have a close look at ourselves and how we maybe don't support our teams the way we should, and as well overseas countries as well. But guys, stadiums looking quite empty so far for the franchise teams. What we saying about it?
If we look back at Super Rugby days, it was actually you couldn't get a ticket for a Bulls game or a Sharks game or a Lions game or a Stormers game by the Thursday. They sold
Mm,
out. And now on the day you can walk up to the gate and buy a ticket for next to nothing, and there's still only 1,000 people in the crowd. So it's a massive concern. We were all for URC and during joining the up with the Europeans, and yet we aren't supporting it. So it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably blame myself as well. To be fair, I haven't watched the game in quite a bit because I just enjoy watching it at home or at the bar. Because usually this is a big thing at the moment. Like people go to the bar, whether it's a Brauhaus or a Tiger's Milk, have a couple of drinks, have a pizza, and you just watch the game in the bar and go absolutely crazy. But it is kind of depressing to see, especially with the Safas known as we are this passionate nation when it comes to rugby, and yet we can't really fill our stadiums. Now something that we miss every now and again is the camera angle. Like certain guys just sit on the one stand and they stack that stand, and that our stadiums are a lot bigger than, for instance, the Prem, those stadiums, because they fill up at 9,000. So if our stadium
mm.
didn't take about 50,000 people, it will probably look full as well, to be fair. But yeah, it is kind of embarrassing. It is something that we have to get better at. I don't even know what they should change, to be honest, because the tickets are already so cheap.
Yeah. So obviously, the team that is most in question here, who, in fairness, has some defense to why the crowd may not be supporting them. If we look at 2016, 2017, 2018 Lions, that stadium was packed for every single Super Rugby game when the team was doing fantastic. They made it to all three finals. That final against the Crusaders at Ellis Park was, I was there. It literally, you couldn't move. There were people literally sitting on in the walkways, like it was packed. And now this past, when they played in the Challenge Cup, there was, like Brett said, just over 1,000 people there, and it's sad to see because the Lions this season have been performing. They have found their form. They're showing what they can do. It's a young team. They need support, but they can't even have people get there. And behind cameras, we've spoken about why, but let's get into why the Lions are receiving such little support at the stadium.
So we also spoke earlier about the fact that the location of where the Lions Stadium is. But yes, that's sad, and it's a very dangerous area to go watch rugby. But the Lions, they had an option to move a while ago. But besides the Lions, we can get back to the Lions now. Every other team as well. The Sharks, they're not filling their stadiums, and they in one of the best locations. The Stormers, they're not filling their stadiums, and they have some of the historically Stormers always fill their stadiums, regardless of who plays. I mean, La Rochelle went to DHL Stadium, and there was half a stadium, which blows my mind. That's the best in Europe versus the best in South Africa, and we couldn't fill a stadium. So that's also it's a massive concern. Do we think that the crowds don't want to watch the European sides? They actually just enjoy or are used to the sides from Australasia.
Brett, I just need to correct you there. It's the best in Europe versus a team in France, in La Rochelle. The Stormers are the best in the world, not just in Europe, the world. Okay, let's get one thing straight. We haven't won the tournament, but we are the best. We get that out of the way. Now, we are kind of comparing it to the stands or the crowds we used to see when it came to Super Rugby and the Currie Cup, correct? Now, the one thing is there's so many Kiwi or New Zealand supporters in South Africa. So when the Crusaders or the Hurricanes or whoever came to play here, you kind of had supporters from both teams trying to fill up the stadium, which is massive. Of course, you won't have La Rochelle or Leinster or whatever other URC team support really on this side. So that's why you see if the Bulls play the Stormers, that stadium is packed. But then on the other hand, we had who played the Sharks the other day where the stadium was also empty, a South African team. Was it the Lions and the Lions and the Sharks?
Yes.
I mean, that was almost embarrassing. Like, we miss those golden days, especially the Currie Cup days where it was feisty, it was fierce. And now it's like they can't even fill one seat. That's how it feels at the moment. So,
But like you said, it comes down to the fact that if we look at SuperSport, they are the people that broadcast our rugby to the South African nation, and you get every single game. It's not like you get selected games. You get every single game on television, and it is so much easier to sit at home or sit at a pub or a bar or a restaurant or whatever and watch a game with friends, etc. But having friends over in the UK, they tell me that at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, there's no sport. They don't film any sport, or only certain games get picked for that weekend to go on television, as they have different competitors who buy the rights to each game. And the only way to then watch the team is to buy a ticket and go and watch them live at the stadium. So as much as that might devastate some South Africans, is that the route that we need to take to maybe start filling up the stadiums, or are there better ways to do this?
For me, that's a hard no, because yes, we can fill a stadium of 50,000 people. That game's not going to be broadcast. But say the game's in Cape Town. Do you want me to fly over to Cape Town, buy a ticket, spend half a fortune just to go watch a game in Cape Town when I live in Johannesburg? Or if that's not possible, now I can't watch the game because somebody didn't get the rights to the game. And now I must sit and wait for the results at the end of the day when all we want is to watch the game. So I think I do hear what you're saying. I just don't agree with it, because I think South Africa got it right with SuperSport showing us everything. But it still comes down to us. We need to be held accountable as fans. We want the best rugby, but we're not paying the tickets. We complain our players go overseas, but we're not paying the tickets. So it's on us as fans to go to the games.
Yeah, so for instance, when it comes to the Stormers, right? Our stadium is literally like 40 minutes drive from my house. Now, it's in the city, so there's not a lot of guys that really want to drive to the city where you just get a ton of traffic every single weekend. Like if there was more games played at the Stellenbosch ground, that would be great, because you have a lot of rugby passionate guys, and they don't necessarily live in the city when it comes to Cape Town. They live here by us, Durbanville, Brackenfell, Stellenbosch, like the Boertjie guys. They want to watch that game in Stellenbosch. That's why the crowds at Stellenbosch is actually pretty good when they play over there. That's pretty good. I don't know how it is in the other locations when it comes to our provinces where those stadiums necessarily are. I'm just thinking that is maybe a factor when it comes to people wanting to buy tickets, because I don't want to sit at home, drive in the traffic, and then go watch the Stormers play Cardiff. I want to go watch that big games, because I know I'm going to take forever to get into that stadium and forever to get out of the stadium and get back home.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually found the culprit, the problem child in this community is casual bias. Casual bias rugby that refuses to go watch Stormers versus Cardiff because he's privileged and doesn't want to sit in traffic like a pleb. So stop being like him and get your ass to the games. And Brevin, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think we all just we all want to find a solution, and that's why we're all spitballing these different ideas. So, but is it maybe now time? Because as we all know, these stadiums are massive. Ellis Park is huge. Loftus has got a big stadium. DHL is massive. Like I think it's the biggest out of all 4 stadiums. So, is it time that these teams start looking at relocating and only test matches get held at these stadiums and big derbies, or what are we saying?
Well, the issue comes then: how do those stadiums generate capital to operate in the same way? Like, of course, they don't make as much money as they used to do because the fans aren't there. As Brett said, I'm privileged, so I don't go watch the games. So I don't bring in any money for the stadium. But as soon, like for instance, in Europe, if you think of England, they only play at Twickenham. I would hate it if South Africa plays all their games only at Loftus or only at Ellis Park. Like, we want a game in Cape Town as well. But for Cape Town Stadium to exist, other games needs to be played there as well. They need to have some capital to maintain their stadium. Otherwise, it just gets absolutely ridiculous. Now, the Stormers still have good support at Cape Town Stadium. That's how they had enough money to get this half fake grass pitch that they have there at the moment, which plays amazing, by the way. But that's the issue you lay with, because if you think of Ireland, England, France, all of them just play their games at one stadium. And our nation is too passionate to only have it be played at one stadium. Like, that would be ridiculous for us.
I must say, I did like that idea of only big matches or only test matches at the big stadiums. Like in Pretoria, the Bulls can go play at majority of the clubs. Even the field right next to their stadium is quite a decent field. But and same with the Sharks, they have great fields right next to the stadium. But then again, you make a valid point, Casual Bias, that if we're not playing there, we're not going to get money. But then I want to know, does it not cost more for a Lions for the stadium at Ellis Park? Does it not cost more to open up, get the vendors there, get the security, get the you name it around the stadium for 1,000 people? Surely you're making a lot. How are you getting money? Where's this money coming from? I think teams like the Lions maybe need to reevaluate their position and where Ellis Park could actually become an international stadium. But I think all the Lions' other games need to be moved to maybe even like a Pirates rugby club or something like that. Just that has some seating, because if you're only going to be 1,000 people at a game, then you might as well get 1,000 seater.
Yeah. It is very tough because we all grew up, and yes, whilst Brett is a little bit more wiser than us, we all grew up just loving going to the game. You know, you'd get there early, you'd open up your bucky, you'd braai on the back of your bucky, you'd have a good time, you go to the game, and it was easy. And now we've been even more blessed that now, even if you want to go and have a few drinks at the game, you can go in an Uber, right? And you can get there and back without having to worry about being stopped by cops or whatever the case may be. And we used to love going to the derbies. I remember when I was like 8 years old, I'd go watch the Bulls versus the Griquas at Loftus, the Griquas, and it was packed in the Curry Cup, and it was so awesome to see. And we respected teams like the Griquas and the Pumas because we enjoyed it. But it's just sad now that a crowd back then against the Griquas is more than a crowd today against a Cardiff or a Scarlets. It's really, really sad to see.
It is. And while we're on the topic, Uber, you're welcome for the free advert there, but don't get used to it. And then I just want to also raise the point on the players that when I was growing up, sorry, not the players, when I was growing up as well, the games were advertised like crazy. Like driving on the highway or driving on a normal suburban road, you would see posters up on the side of the road. This game this weekend, come to Ellis Park or come to Loftus. You'll see this game happening. Now you get no advertising. Yes, I know there's social media and stuff, but people miss that. Like the people born in the 80s, they not necessarily hanging on their phone the whole day waiting for an advert to come up. They are busy living life. So I think advertising has lacked a lot when it comes to games, especially local derbies, because think of the game when the Cheetahs played against when the Cheetahs beat the Sharks in the Challenge Cup the other day. There was also it's a local derby, and there were so little people at its stadium that's they've been hungry for rugby, and now that they get rugby, they're not supporting.
I think it comes down to a period where there wasn't too much rugby to be watched. Let's say, for instance, when it was lockdown, I think the people kind of said, listen, we're not going to go back to the games because there's no other people. So it's almost like when you are voting for a national party or a government, you're like, I'm not going to vote because we are anyway not going to win this vote, right? And it's the same with the rugby. It's like, there's only 1,000 people. I don't want to be there with just 1,000 people. Now, if you have a lot of people thinking like that, that's a lot of ticket sales you lose. Now, to complement that, I think the marketers of the Sharks, the Stormers, the Lions, all those teams, they realize this, and they're like, we're not going to spend money on advertising because we know the people don't even want to come because of external factors. So I think it's all just like a snowball effect from one thing goes to another, and that just makes that it's a total shit show. That's what it comes down to. It's a total shit show, and it's almost disgraceful that we say we are so proud, and I've got to fix my ways. I'm taking Brett's word, and I'm gonna apply it. Okay, I'll go to more games now. They can have my money, but we have to fix it because it's disgraceful. We miss those golden days of Curry Cup rugby. Like even the teams now just see it as a normal game where they just want to throw in like a bunch of youngsters. They don't even see it as a big tournament. That was everything to us a couple of years ago, and we need to get that standard back, where every game means everything to our players.
Yeah, I agree. And if it carries on like this, we are literally all four franchises are probably going to have to rely on investors to keep the team going. If we cannot support these teams and pump money into their system by supporting them, we possibly see more Springbok players and national players move overseas. And yes, while some really love the country, when a big money offer comes from somewhere else, your family will always come first, and they will make those decisions. Obviously, I can't make decisions for others, but we see most players making these decisions because that offer you can't refuse it. Now, while we wrap up, quickly give me your quick solution on how you think we can fix this issue, or is it just a matter of to fix the issue, we need to just get our asses off our couches and go to the game?
Well, Brevin, you brought up a very good point, right? And it's actually like a little discussion we can have. So you mentioned that the players want to leave because of the money, right? But that also snowballs. Like, do we want to go and see or watch our teams when we know we don't even have our best players playing there? Like, for instance, do you want to go and see, for instance, the Stormers without Eben Etzebeth there? Well, whilst he was there, for example. Now, without Siya Kolisi, we had all these big names, like the stars of the Springbok team. You want to see them play. But now you can't because they're playing overseas. So who are you actually going to watch? I know you want to support your team, but everyone has like that favorite player. You wanted to see Eben Etzebeth do this. And I think that also snowballs into the thing because you don't have any stars that you necessarily want to go and see.
That is actually very valid, and I didn't even think of that because that makes complete sense. Because while Brevin was talking, I was thinking about our our football in South Africa, our soccer, is one of the worst in the world. Yet every single local game is always sold out. It's to the brim, sold out to the max. You won't get tickets. And our cricket, same thing. Our franchise games are always sold out. The international games, especially, are sold out weeks in advance, but they don't win anything. But those players are all playing in South Africa, all the stars. And yet, all our rugby players, Kulisi has gone to France. Like Ebenezer has made a massive downgrade in his life, gone to the Sharks. I mean, imagine that. Like, that's why people don't go to the games. That is such a valid point. I think bring our stars back.
Yeah, just as an example, you think about the NBA, right? Those people want to go and they don't want to see the Lakers. They want to see LeBron James, one of the best to ever do it. You want to see this ginormous name just doing what he does. And that is what we are lacking at the moment. Like the big names in South Africa, Andre Pollard, he's not here. You want to see Andre Pollard.
And Colby.
Exactly.
And Akia, and the list goes on and on and on.
Actually, most of our superstars don't play in South Africa. That is very valid. I think, wow, casual bias, W right there, hitting the nail on the head. Very rare sighting, but well done.
So just to review it all, is a possible SA rugby pitch to investors maybe overseas or higher up people in South Africa to bring our stars back and to get people to go to the game because they can see their absolute hero play on a week in, week out basis? Is that basically the option we're going for here?
That's what I'm going for. We need outside of this country investors to invest in our teams because the Rand can't compete to the euros and the pounds that they are getting paid overseas. Our economy isn't strong enough for that. And like we'll have an episode one day with a rugby player and talk to them about the future of their personal lives after rugby. Because you have so many players in South Africa that when they retire, they have to go and take up a normal job where you don't get that overseas. And that's why our boys go and play overseas. So we need outside investment to tell our boys, listen, you can play rugby here, you can play long term, and you don't need to worry about if you get injured that you have to take up a normal job because we know the sacrifices that you had to make to get into this position. And that's my solution. It has to be outside investors investing into this game. That's why we had to milk everything out of that Rugby World Cup victory and get our stars back into the teams so other teams from out or other companies from outside the country could say, listen, we want to be part of that. You see that passion? We want that. That's my solution.
Yeah, well, guys, all of you watching, please go to the games. We ask you nicely, we beg, because we want to watch rugby for the rest of our lives and not have our superstars leave and never come back. But thank you for all the support. We will be back very soon, and we thank you once again. Cheers.
Bye.